Hey, welcome everybody. Boone's Corner. We haven't sat down with Brett Boone in a while, so we thought we'd sit down, give him 5 pressing stories from Major League Baseball. Brett Boone, how are you?
I'm doing good, Rich. 5 pressing stories. I'm ready.
All right, 5 pressing stories. First of all, today is the birthday of the greatest living player in Major League Baseball history, the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. Who's the best player you ever laid your eyes on?
Not even close. His nephew, Barry Bonds.
Why?
I think you had to be there, in that time when Barry was in the early 2000s, when he was dominant, always was a great player. But for about a 4 or 5 year period, other players, we'd look at each other when we played against Barry and just said, do you realize how much better he is than the next best? He was that good. He was playing slow pitch softball. The rest of us were playing big league baseball. Best player I've ever seen on a field, not even close.
The Boone family spans 3 generations. Who's the best player your dad said he ever saw?
We'll go right back to it, Barry Bonds. And I'll tell you what, it took a lot for him to say that. Because as you know, Rich, when you get out of the game, you retire, you're pretty faithful to your generation. My dad and grandfather, by the way, you'd be happy to hear this. Ray Boone, same thing. He admitted to me on his deathbed that Barry Bonds is the best player he's ever seen. And for him to say that over Ted Williams, that's saying a lot.
They're both San Diego guys, so that Ray was going to stick with Ted as long as he could.
Yeah. Well, I knew that day when he told me that, I knew Gramps ain't going to make it because there's no way he's going to come back and have to answer for that. So,
all right,
a little bittersweet, but a pretty cool story.
How do you think Willie Mays would fare today in Major League Baseball?
Oh, I think Willie's one of the all-time greats. Probably a top 5 in the history of the game. If not, it's really tough for me to compare eras. I think you got to stick to the generation and then build who dominates that generation. Who's the best of their time? Because I think going forward with technology and just seems like guys are getting bigger, stronger, faster now. The dietary, just the things the players today
they work out year round all the time now. They have personal trainers.
Right. So it's really not fair to compare a 2022 athlete with somebody that played in Willie's day. That being said, Willie's one of the greatest of all time. I'm sure he'd fare well in today's game, but different time. I always ask that question is, what if we put the Pro Bowl team of 2022 against the Pro Bowl team of 1964?
Ooh.
The guys are too much bigger, stronger, and faster on the line right now for that generation to compete. But the guys in their day that were the best, they're the best.
That's a great, I've never heard anybody make that point before. That's brilliant. Yeah. That's pretty good. All right. See if you can keep it up. New York Yankees, one of the best turnarounds in baseball, best record in baseball as we speak. What happened?
Oh, Aaron Boone overnight, he learned how to manage.
He got a lot smarter.
No, and that's the funny part to me. The Yankees went out and they got better. And I don't hear many people talking about it, but the thing I see that's the big turnaround for the New York Yankees this year is the defense behind the plate. I think Sanchez had his problems. He was always an offensive threat. He's moved on to Minnesota. I think just the mindset of the pitching staff in total, that's starters and relievers, coming to the ballpark on a daily basis, knowing what they're going to get defensively behind the plate, I think psychologically is huge. And it's not made that much of, but it really is. They tightened up their defense at shortstop. The key also is they're all healthy. And as you know, over the last 3-4 years, that's been a tall order for the Yankees to remain healthy. So far, so good. They're atop their division, right up there at the top of baseball.
Well, we talk about it a lot on your podcast, and you should check out the Boone podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You really didn't learn to appreciate the value of a catcher on the defensive side till later in your career.
Without a doubt. Dad used to tell me, because that's what he was known for. I have a big appreciation for Bob Boone these days. In my day, it was the Dan Wilsons of Seattle who kind of, they hit at the bottom of the lineup. They put up their offensive numbers, respectable. But that's not where their value is. Their value is coming to the ballpark, working with that pitching staff, getting a pitcher through a game when he doesn't have his best stuff. That's what the great ones do. And just I don't know what the word is, but just being on the same page, that pitcher and catcher. Obviously, every day we come to the ballpark, and position players were important parts of a team. But who's the most important part every day? Whoever's that starting pitcher on the mound. And the fact that they come to the ballpark with a clear mind and say, hey, I'm comfortable who I'm throwing to. Wow, that speaks volumes. It just puts you in the right frame of mind. I think it's a bigger deal than, like I said, it's been made of.
Momentum is only as good as today's pitcher.
Correct.
It's an old adage in baseball. All right, let's go rapid fire for the next couple. Shohei Ohtani puts on a show in Boston, almost knocks down the Green Monster and then fans a bunch of Red Sox. Compare him, just reaction.
Uncomparable. He's a guy I've been talking about ever since last year when he stayed healthy for an entire season. I think he's the type of guy, only guy that's ever done what he's doing on both sides of the baseball. I laugh when people talk about the most valuable player. If Shohei Ohtani remains upright and doesn't go on the IL, he's the automatic MVP. You know, it'd be one thing to be a number 3 or number 4 starter, contribute as a pitcher and hit 7th or 8th in the lineup and be a 250 hitter with 15 home runs. For me, you're still the MVP because of what you're doing on both sides of the ball. The fact that he's doing it, led the league in home runs last year, is a top offensive performer, an all-star as a hitter and as a pitcher. He's the number 1 starter for the Angels, who are atop their division right now. The fact that he's doing that, I don't even think you can really speak to, because we haven't seen it before.
Dusty Baker wins his 2000th game as a manager, grinding along, starting with the Giants, then, you know, the Cubs and the Reds and everywhere else he's been, now at the Houston Astros. Give me your reaction.
Awesome. You know, Dusty's a guy that I played against for years and years, watched as a kid growing up. Seems like he's your buddy and you really don't know him that well. You know, it seemed like I'd come to town and I'd see Dusty and he'd give me a hand gesture. I'd wave to him like he was a long lost friend, but really we had never had a conversation. He's just one of those guys that he's one of the rare guys in baseball that players that play for him, play against him, guys that know him, never have a negative word to say about Dusty. I can't tell you how many times on the podcast I come across guys and we go over managers and it comes to Dusty Baker. It's always the same scenario. Unbelievable, great clubhouse presence, lets you play, it cares about the players, has really had a Hall of Fame career. Seeing him get his 2000 was pretty cool.
All right, I got a goofy question for you. Ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. This is a curveball from out in left field. I just saw a story.
I'm sitting on curveball, Rich. I'm sitting.
All right. This is gonna be a little slurvy. I just read a story about a 6-year-old whose family ran a marathon, and the 6-year-old completed the marathon in 8 hours plus. Could Brett Boone ever complete a marathon?
You know, maybe if I was 6, when I was 6, absolutely. Now, man, that would be tough for me. I'd need something at the end of the rainbow. I'd need something to fight through. You know, if it was something at the end of that rainbow that you had waiting for me and it was important enough to me, of course I could do it. For me to go out there just at the pure love of running a marathon, I don't know that I could do it. I don't know, because you got to kind of train for things like that, don't you?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if I have it in me right now I have enough time. I have a tough enough time, and you know I love playing golf. People always ask me, why don't you go practice? Try to be as good as you can. I just can't find it in my being to get to the range. When I have some time to go play golf, I like to go play golf with the boys. I don't like to practice. I have buddies that practice and have swing coaches, all that stuff. I just don't have the passion. I don't care enough. I just like to go around, take my 6 or 7 tired handicap and get shots from my buddies.
By the way, the 6-year-old wanted to stop at mile 20, and the dad got him to continue. Got him to keep going by saying, "Hey, listen, if we finish this marathon, I'll get you 2 bags of potato chips."
Wow. See, that's the end of the rainbow type stuff I'm talking about. Maybe back in my day, it would have been a Schwinn scrambler.
Yes. There you go. All right, everybody. Brett Boone, check out his podcast wherever podcasts are available, Apple, everywhere else. Mr. Boone, thank you so much.
Mr. Herrera, it was a pleasure.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us. This is Boone's Corner.